I was the guy who said, I'm never getting married. I'm never going to have kids. I'm never going to live in the suburbs. I'm never going to drive an SUV.
So 2 biological kids, 1 adopted kid, and 31 foster kids later, the joke's on him.
I'm the biggest hypocrite who's ever lived. But yeah, it was kind of a scary thought of what does that mean for our kids? What does that mean for us in our own time frame? What does that mean for me? It was also like, does that mean we're going to end up adopting? And, really 2 kids is fine for me, or, where is this going to go?
And he knew that having done foster care previously, with my family, that it was something very important to me.
And she just let me know it's really important to her. And well, she's important to me. And I said, all right, let's give it a try.
I don't even know. It's been so many years. Like, I know that overall we've had around 30 kids, but
there's a lot of in and out of people. Like, you'll have kids come in 1 year, they'll say maybe, who knows, a month to 2 years we've had. But it's also worthwhile, though, because in the end, they usually go back to their parents the majority of the time. And it's good to see that you're able to help them.
I mean, I still keep in contact with one of our previous foster children, which is really nice. So, like, getting to make the relationship with the people, and then even if they leave, getting to still keep in contact with them is really great. It's like, you make friends and then you still have them.
It gives me great joy to see them rise to the occasion over what has been the bulk of their life, to bringing these kids, even times where I'm like, I don't know if we want to do this. I don't know if we can take another kid. They're like, bring them in, let's do it, right? And that's not just the little kids, that's even the teenager versions of these guys saying that. There's a lot of experiences that stick out in fostering, and most of them great, some of them heartbreaking.
I think it may have been 8 or 9 years ago at 9 o'clock at night, we got a call for 3 siblings, and we already had an infant. And I was like, if you can't find any place to keep them together, give me a call back. But really 3 kids is stretching it for me. So at 11 o'clock, I have 3 more kids. And I said, I can keep them for 48 hours. We're leaving for Niagara Falls, and we're going camping. So 48 hours later, I call them, and I'm like, guys, what do you got for me? And they're like, we're working on it, but they're going to be separated. And I'm from a family of 4. I was like, oh no. I was like, all right, listen, we're going away. We're going to go camping for 10 days. I looked at my husband and I said, I need you to go to Pep Boys and buy one of those roof rack things. And he's like, Amy, no. And I'm like, Eric, I already called. I confirmed that they have it. Just please go get it. And I'm on the phone with DIFAS, and they're like, okay. And I'm like, so just have homes for them by the time we get back. And he's like, are you out of your mind? And I'm like, yes. He was just like, no. Literally, we cannot do this. It maxed out my car. We had to offload all of our food. We couldn't bring food. We had to get to the campsite and then go to the gas station and buy 600 hot dogs. There we were camping, showing up to my husband's relatives with 6 kids. And so Niagara Falls, Maiden of the Mist, walking behind the falls with 6 kids under the age of 9. And of course, they did not leave in 2 weeks. They were with us 8 months.
People ask me why I constantly have different siblings. They're like, they think I'm adopted for some reason, or they think that they're all adopted. And I have to explain to them that it's more of a temporary thing, so that the kids can wait for the parents to get better or find a forever home.
I whenever it gets brought up, it takes a few minutes of explaining, because people at first don't understand it because they immediately think adoption, which is a different process. So I have to explain the difference between that. But after a while, most my friends are just used to new people being in and out of the house.
Me, I'm from a very small town in New Jersey, so I think it gave me a broader sense of people. I lived a very cush life.
My 2 bio kids have been exposed to a part of the world that they would not have seen otherwise.
Foster years really opened my mind to so many different things that I didn't know about. And I probably wouldn't have been so careful around, like, in school, around people who, like, smoke or do drugs, because I can see what it does to families and how it, like, tears them apart. So
they've seen the damage. They've seen what happens to the kids and their families and their bodies and their lifestyle, and, you know, kids who've been emaciated, kids who have been abused, kids who have been ignored. They feel that viscerally. They've got a heck of a lot better platform on which to make good choices and to understand what the impact is, and hopefully, you know, make that right choice when they're sitting at a party or somebody comes up and says, "Yeah, just try it." They can think back and go, "I remember that baby that came in that we had to wrap into a monitor to manage its heartbeat, and we had to give it caffeine so that it was staying off of its withdrawal syndromes, and that eventually, you know, ended up legally blind and deaf," right? They have those experiences to draw on.
And we never had the intentions of adopting. We just adopted after having him for a little over 3 years.
So we also had his sister, like his half-sister, when we first got him. She went back to her biological dad in Honduras. And it was around after that time that we really started, like, talking about it, being like, oh, you know, if he can't go back to his mom, what are we going to do? And we all, like, kind of agreed on, like, saying, oh, if he can't go back, we would adopt him.
We knew that Will had been exposed to drugs, you know, during the early part of his life, most likely while he was still neonatal. You know, I knew he was at risk for a lot of potential long-term health issues, right? And so it was kind of scary. You know, each time we take in a kid, you know, Amy's always said, "Oh, we're not into this to adopt." But in the back of my head, I go, it's going to happen. You know, it's going to happen. And she denied it and denied it and denied it. But Will was kind of one of those places where it could happen. It started with Amy kind of, I think she came into my office and was telling me, look, you know, we're being asked about what's going to happen with Will long term, and you know, and so when that first conversation came through, it was hard. I was mad, honestly. I was angry, and I had safely stayed in denial up until that point, because again, you know, I'm 50-something years old. I'm doing the math with a 3-year-old. I'm going to be 67, whatever, when he graduates high school. It took me a little while to get over what I had planned out for the rest of my life. We're going to be empty nesters. We'll take the RV. We'll go on the road. It'll just be us. It'll be fun. And then see that whole picture just collapse. And, you know, Amy kind of treated with me with kid gloves and let me kind of peel the onion over and over again. And when that happened, you know, it was mainly let's get Eric through the process, and then everybody else is good to go. But the kids were, you know, once she got me through that process, then we went to the kids, and the kids were, well, duh, let's do it, and then we were off to the races.
We finally got our date, you know, and we started planning. Obviously, we were excited. As soon as COVID started, that was the first thing that struck me, was like, they're going to shut down the courts. And I called my adoption worker, and I was like, I don't care. They can do it by Zoom. They can do it by phone call, like homing pigeon. I don't care. Just get it done. As you know, as things kind of progressed, we got a phone call that said, hey, you know, do you want to do a paper adoption? What's a paper adoption? They're like, oh, well, everything will just be done and they'll send it to you in the mail. And I'm like, no, like, I need to, like, hear these words. Like, they got back to us a week later and said, okay, actually the judge said you can do a Zoom call. So we were like, all right, well, yeah, that'd be cool. My husband is a techie, so he has like a giant computer screen. So he put that out on the front porch.
My mom bought us all matching shirts, so we wore those, and then people started showing up. They sat out in our front yard.
We had all these cars coming down the street and honking with them decorated, and then the police drove by with the sirens going, and the fire department came by with the sirens blowing, and you know, and Will was like,
so it was kind of just really neat. I mean, we were at home and on our porch and where it started, and you know, and adoption obviously through foster care can be so heavy and so you know what I mean? Like, it's the end and the beginning, you know. And that day, you know, you just felt like you got it right, you know, like, and that's all I can say. Like, you felt like you hit the nail on the head, you know what I mean? Like, some days you're just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But that day, everything came together. It was definitely it was a very light place in the middle of kind of a really scary time.
Like, he was always part of our family, and now it's just official.